And what you see here is we call this a little bit of rust or weight reduction, or yeah, a problem that needs to be solved. But as you can tell, the front of this hood's got some issues, but how do you fix it? Well, stay tuned. Hey, thanks for stopping by another episode of the Vinyl Village Garage, your restoration station. I skipped the word Firebird. Well, that's because we're not going to be doing any Firebirds today, so don't stop yet. Don't hear me out. This is still some good information that applies to just about every car, because any car that gets some age to it has the same problem, rust. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, how to solve a rust issue on a panel that you cannot purchase, buy a repop, or have a repop, I guess, patch panel for. So how do you fix that stuff? So that's what we're going to do here. So that's how it still pertains to anything you're working on. Say there's a piece of the car that you can't buy, or maybe just needs a little repair work. So that's what we're going to do here on this trunk deck for a 1963 Lincoln. Look it up online. They don't exist. No repair panels, no patch panels. Basically, not a whole lot of options. So what do you do? Especially for a car they're wanting to use for a showcase for a business. Well, they wanted a good quality repair, so they kind of, because we may got into contact, came with a plan, and maybe I could help them out with it and doctor it up. And how that came to be, went to the World of Wheels here in Indianapolis, had a pretty good time. A nice little weekend. The weather was kind of questionable, but the show was a fantastic show. Hang out with my buddy Chris. It's his brother and his business that this Lincoln is going to be showcasing, and we started talking. I said, I think I could help you out with that. Now, he took his Chevelle, fantastic car. He's had this thing for many years. I helped him almost 20 years ago put this thing back on the road and back together. Still holding up great. So obviously I must have done a good enough job. They felt they wanted to see if I could help him out this time. I even took the Trans-Amerirado. We actually took first in class. That kind of a nice surprise for Team Vinyl Village Garage. So I had a good time meeting a few of you out there. And then, of course, if I didn't see you, I happened to not be at the car, I do apologize. But we will be at the Trans Am Nationals and Firebird Fest yet this year. So nonetheless, I had enough to say talking about all that. Let's get into this. Figure out a good plan for repair. Let me get you in close, see what we're fighting here, and see if we can get a way to get this thing fixed. Now, at first glance, of course, you see like rust spots here, kind of all over the whole trunk deck itself. Now, it doesn't look all that bad maybe here through the camera, but the real issue herein lies, I'll actually kind of draw it out for you, but if you were actually to connect the dots, and you actually traced out where all the rust spots are at, you'll actually start to see a pattern, and it's not a good one either. But let me doodle this thing up right quick, and you're going to start to see something kind of strange. Now, if you're starting to see a weird shape as I connect the dots, well, let me poke you hit on the inside here, and you'll see what we got going on. If you look at the inside, that structure, that's where the problem lies. The inner structure, when they assembled this, was bare steel. And that was happening. We've got rust festering between the two panels, and now it's rusting from the inside out. So what we see on the top side, maybe this little bubble here, but it's actually, I'm going to tell you, that rust spot's probably that big underneath there. And no, that's not a smiley face. That was just kind of how that worked out. So now here in the front, it's actually rusted completely through. I can actually take, the good old-fashioned rust checker / screwdriver, which you all have, and you can see I'm just putting holes in this thing. So this piece, I'm going to have to make a panel. Now the problem is, this trunk deck is a very large trunk deck, being that it goes on a Lincoln. We could sand the top of this thing down, get it all clean, and it's going to look pretty good. But we just discussed, that rust is probably this big on the backside. It's going to come right back through and have these little bubbles, and they're pretty shiny new paint job. How do we fix this? Best thing that I've come up with so far, I'm going to flip this thing over, and we're probably going to separate the outer skin from the shell so we can actually get to this rust and neutralize, remove, clean it out, whatever we got to do to stop this thing rusting from the inside out. There we go. Got it flipped over without killing myself, but this thing's heavy, by the way. It's kind of big. Probably should have got somebody out to help me flip this thing over, because Lincolns, well, there's big cars. 1963, I guess you say size matters. The bigger, the better, right? Well, this thing's huge. But the biggest thing was, I wanted you to see this side of it so you can see a little more what we're talking about. The inner structure, they glue it sort of to the outer skin, but you can see all the rust in here. It's pretty heavy. That's just how it was from the factory. They didn't design these cars the last 50 years. They're thinking 3, 4, 5 years tops, you're going to replace it. So this wasn't their concern back then, but now it's my problem to figure out a solution. And what I'm thinking is best, now you could have this thing sandblasted top and bottom. It's going to warp the heck out of it, and it's not going to get the rust out of in between the two panels. Now you could have this acid dipped. That's kind of a popular solution to car bodies. Have them dipped, and it does dissolve because it basically chemically dissolves or removes all the rust. But the problem I have then is I still have bare metal, clean metal now between the two. Guess what? It's going to rust again. So that's why I'm coming back. I think my only solution is going to be remove the inner structure from the outer skin, then have it chemically dipped, and then paint it, put it back together. And my thinking the other way we're going to do it is there used to be a weather stripping all around the whole outside of this trunk deck. I'm going to cut it apart here. There's no way I will be able to get this apart without destroying it, because it's actually folded over. That's when they built it from the factory. They had the skin hammered flat. Well, I'll never be able to get that back bent and make it look right. So I think I'm going to cut the two apart. Then I can hide the welds underneath where the weather stripping goes. So by the time it's all back together, you'll never know I even cut it apart, except for you've watched the videos and you would know. But we don't need to tell nobody that. But that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go ahead and cut this two pieces apart. Then we'll probably take this and have this thing dipped and then patch the thing up. How bad this thing really is. It's bad. This isn't too bad out here on the outer edge. It actually looks pretty good. Very minor surface rust. We clean up pretty good. But where it gets bad here is in the middle, where the two panels are glued together. That's some pretty bad stuff going on there. And where it was rusting through on the inside, well, that's bad. That's what we have to work with. But there's some major, chunky, scaly rust in here. But they didn't cut that apart. That's going to continue to fester and cause problems for them. So here's the issue now. You can see this thing is super flimsy. We basically got a piece of sheet metal. You can't sandblast this. It's going to warp the heck out of it. So I'm really thinking now, my next step now that's taken apart in two pieces, I'm going to take it to the chemical dipper guys and have them get this thing treated and cleaned without doing more damage to the metal. This doesn't look too bad here. Pretty light surface rust, but where it's pitted up real bad is where the two panels had met, and that glue or whatever they used must have been kind of like a sponge, and it must have been just holding water and causing it to rust and fester even more. So I think the next step is take us off to the dippers and have them strip it and see what we have when we get it back. Well, I'll say to be continued on the 1963 Lincoln trunk deck, because there's a massive pile of rust right here. And there's probably 1.5 handfuls of crud I was scraping out of the inside of this thing. So imagine if we didn't take that apart, that's all going to be rattling around inside there, holding moisture, causing rust. It wouldn't have held up very long. Now, maybe I'm going off the deep end with this, but I really feel this is probably the best repair. So if you know anybody who's working on a 63 Lincoln or have done this kind of repair before on something like this, let me know. If you got somebody who's trying to do this, please share the video with them, because I'd love to share some knowledge, experience, or maybe hit me up in the comments saying, John, that's probably not the way to do that. That's probably epic fail. But I'm seeing this as being a good thing. I'm hoping it's going to work out great, but got a couple more episodes of putting this thing back together. But we got to get this thing packaged up and sent off to the chemical stripper dipper guys and see what we have when we get it back, and then devise a way to put it back together without warping the crap out of it, make it look like a really nice trunk deck when it's done. So in the meantime, it's back to Firebird. So back to the Firebird restoration station. So stay tuned for this. I'll definitely get some more footage on that, get it and go back together. And then, of course, playing with the Firebirds. That's what we do the best, have the most fun with, and appreciate you following me on that journey. So, of course, anything else you'd like to see, or anyone who's working on one of these Lincolns, please share the video with them, or even let me know if this is a good idea or a bad idea. I'm just kind of making this up as I go, thinking what was the best way or how would I do it for myself. So, nonetheless, it's not that dark out yet, but I am freaking hungry, and it's only 40 degrees. As you can tell, I'm wearing a sweatshirt, and it's spring break. Yeah, so much for Indiana weather. If you live here, you know what it's all about. Wait 5 minutes, and it changes. So, anyway, I said a whole bunch of, I guess, who knows what's, and I'm ready to call it quits for tonight. Put the camera away, and we'll drag you guys back out here next time, and we'll finish this up and play with some more of these. And we'll catch you then.